In this video, I'm going to show you how to customize the symbology of Earth engine vector data, sometimes called vector styling. And first, let's go to the website to download the notebook example we're going to use in this video. Go to tutorials.gmap.org and then click feature collection, vector styling, upper right corner, download the notebook to your computer. And I'm going to download to my documents GE folder, hit save. And after that, you can open Anaconda prompt. Once you open the Anaconda prompt, you can conda activate GE. So that's the conda environment that we created in the previous videos. And then just type Jupyter notebook, hit enter. It should open a notebook on your browser. Then navigate to the directory that you saved the notebook, so GE, and then vector styling. As you can see from here, we have a couple of ways that you can style the vector. So we're going to go through here one by one. First, we need to import the library. So if you have not installed the GMap package, you can control / to install the package, and then just hit execute. You might also want to update the package if you installed this one a while ago, because some of the things that I'm showing here might be new functions that I just added to the package. So if you want, you can always control / to uncomment this line, and then just hit run. You should be able to get the latest version, and then you can restart the kernel and then execute this one more time. So you always get the latest version. So the first one here is that you can use the default style. So default style means that you don't really change anything. We create an interactive map, and then we refer to the image feature collection. So in Google Earth Engine, vector data is represented as a feature collection. So the terminology is called feature collection, and then within the parentheses, you can find out the unique access ID to the feature collection. After that, you assign it to a variable, and you can pass the variable to the add layer function. That's it. So you can just hit run. You should be able to see the result. Okay, so this is the US census data, the state boundary for the United States. And once you add the data to the map, you can actually query the data. Upper right corner here, you can click the toolbar and then click the identifier or the inspector. Then you can click on the map to query the polygon. You can see, for example, the coordinates when you mouse click on the map. You can also see, for example, the resolution, so or the scale represent. And you can also take a look at all the attributes for each specific feature that you click, right? So basically one polygon and one polygon. So when you click, you will be able to see this like one by one. So this is how you can actually figure out the information, the attributes for it for the vector. Because Google Earth Engine is not like traditional GIS software packages, you cannot actually see the attribute table directly. So you cannot open the attribute table directly, but you can use the inspector to query the data if you want. So you can see all the attributes here. If you're trying to add a layer to the map, if you just directly add the feature collection and then without passing any parameters in here, then this one is the layer name. So this is the default way you can use, but sometimes this might not be the ideal symbology that you want to use for the map, and that's why we can introduce some other ways that you can customize. Because for vector, this is the only one you can use as the default style. So the second one here I'm going to show you is the so-called image.paint. This one essentially is that we create an empty image to serve as a canvas, and then you can paint the vector on the map. So paint basically is just the outline. And let me just execute here. You can quickly see the result. For example, this is only the outline in the red color. This line is the same. We define a variable called states, and this one represents the feature collection. We also create an empty image, right? So e.image, if you don't pass in anything, it's just an empty image, just an empty canvas. and then from the canvas you use the dot paint, and then you pass in the parameters. So if you want, you can hit shift tab on your keyboard to bring up the function definition. And within here you can see the first argument here is image, so it'll be this one, and then the other one here is the feature collection. So we pass in the feature collection as the first parameter. The second one is the color. So the color here, it doesn't really matter, so we just put it as a 0. The one really matter here is the width, because we're going to control the color through the palette in here. So for this one, you can put any numbers. It's not going to change the color, but you can change the width, basically the outline width of the polygon. So this is the one that really matters. So the line width, and so we put 3. That means basically that's 3 pixels, right? If you put 2, you can also enter a larger number. So the width is controlled by this number, but the color actually is controlled by the palette. So just make sure that you understand the difference. If you change to a large number, let's say 5, you're going to see a much the thickness is going to increase, right, to 5. It's too much, so I'm going to change it back to maybe 2, a little bit smaller. Also, you can change the color. So the palette here is the color. You can, for example, you can have like blue or green or yellow, any common color you want. You can also use hex color code. So hex color code basically 6 digits. If I use FF, that means it's going to be white color, right? So RGB. So the first 2 digits is red, green, and blue, right? So if this is using the hexadecimal, so base 16, right? So FF means 256. This is just like if you use RGB, right? 255, 255, and 255, it will be red, white color. You can also put 0, 0, 0, 0, 60. That means it's going to be black, right? You don't have any color, so it will be by default, it will be black color. Then this is how you can control the color. And if you want something in the middle, for example, if you want, they say blue color, then you can put 00FF. So this one is the same. You can directly put blue. You're going to get the same result. And this is how you can style the vector using this way. The downside of using this is that when you query the data, it's no longer a vector. It has been converted to raster. So this time, if I use the inspector again, click on the map, you will see here it's constant. There's none. That means right now you don't really. It's no longer a vector, so it has been converted to a raster. The reason for this is that it's an empty canvas, and then you basically just overlay your vector outline on the map, and it becomes an image. It's no longer vector data. So that's why you cannot basically query the data. And this is only good if you want to visualize the vector, but you don't care about the vector attributes. If you still want to query, then you need to use the default one. Don't use a canvas. Okay, so this is the second way you can do to visualize Earth engine vector data. The next one I'm going to show you is using the so-called style. So this one is the recommended way that you use to style the vector. So this one is more efficient, computationally more efficient than this one. So always the best way actually is to use this one if you don't want more complicated styles that I'm going to show you later. So this is so-called the feature collection. It has a style function, and we're just going to use the same source code. This one here, you can actually also fill the color. If you use the paint, you can only get the outline. You cannot fill the color. So this one basically have more control, and it's more flexible. Again, this is the same line. We define a variable and then refer to the image collection, and then we define a style. So the style is a dictionary. So the dictionary inside here, you have color, you have width, you have line type, you can also have fill color. And then, so this is the feature collection. The feature collection has the style function. Within the style, you can pass in a dictionary. If you want to see what you can pass in, you can hit Control Shift tab tap on your keyboard to bring up the tips, and from here you should be able to see what kind of parameter you can provide, right? So the first one here, this one here is the collection, and then you can pass in, for example, color, point size. So depends on the geometry type of your vector data. This one, because it's a polygon type data, you cannot set this one, it has no effect. But if it is point data, then you can set the point size and also the point shape, and you have a bunch of options in here, for example, circle, square. Maybe later I can show you an example, but for now let's go through here. And then width, fill, color, style property. This one is also very flexible. If you want a style for each feature, for each polygon, essentially, you can actually set a style. So at the end, every polygon has a different color, different symbology, but it's a bit more complicated. I'm not going to go through that one here. Also, you can check the line type. Also, for example, is it solid or dotted or dash? Okay, so there are 3 ways you can customize. Let's go back to the example here. Okay, so the color, if you have the color, so the color can be, it's going to have 8 digits. The first 6 digits the color, and the last 2 digits represent the opacity. So the opacity is also using hexadecimal. So FF means this basically is 100%, and whatever number you put in here divided by 255, you're gonna get the percentage. Okay, also the width line type here is solid. Fill color 0 0 0 0, right? So the fill color, if it's all 0, that means it's black. And 80 here, 80 means like 80 divide as hexadecimal. 80 represent 180, 128, right? So 8 multiplied by 16 is 128 plus 0. So this is 128 divided by 256 is 50%. So this one means opacity is 0.5 and 50%, right? So that's why you see some kind of black color here. You can also change this one. If you change this one directly to 0 0, that means this one is 0. 0 divided by 256 is still 0. So this is basically is going to be transparent. If you want, we can take a look at this one, right? So this is why you only see the outline. You don't see the color because the fill color has 8 digits. This one controls the opacity. If you change to FF, you are going to see totally black because its opacity becomes 1. 1 means it's not transparent, and that's why you see the entire black color. If you want somewhere in between, 80 is a good number, so it means 50%. So it's going to 80. That means the opacity is 50%, and if you want, you can do it this way. Also, the solid type, right? So the fill color here, you can also change the color. If you want the color to be, let's say, some kind of red color, you can do it in here. So you'll be, if you want it to be red color, you'll be FF, and then so red is fully red color. And this is how you can control the color. You can also change, for example, the color of the outline, right? It'll be FF. If you want to change it to something else, you can do that as well. So maybe I can change it to FF, right? So the 0 0 FF, green and blue mixed up, it will be what color? Cyan color. If you want something else, you can also put, maybe if you just want a white color, you can put FF. It will become white color, right? So this is how you can control the style. It's better than this one. This one you can only have the outline. So if you want, you can use this way. Keep it in mind, you need to put 2 stars in here. 2 star means it's going to unpack the dictionary, because this one here is a dictionary. If you don't use the 2 star, you need to have like color equal to this number, and then width equal to, but that's usually not the recommended way. So the easiest way is to define a dictionary in the dictionary, because the order doesn't matter, and you can just put 2 star to unpack the dictionary, and like this way. Okay, so this is how you can customize the style using the feature collection style function. Next one here, this is a GMap function. This one is not The first two come from the Earth Engine API. Okay, so this one here comes from the GMap package. The Earth Engine API does not have this one, so make sure you understand the difference. And again, I'm just going to execute here just to show you the result first. As you can see from here, it's also very flexible. And again, this is the same line that we use, but in this one here, we can define the visualization parameters. And this one is slightly different from the one we use above. So the one used above, you have 8 digits for the color, right? The first 6 digits for color, the last 2 for opacity. And so in here, actually, we separate them into different components. You can just use the color. So 0, 0. This one means basically black color, right? If you want to change to other color, for example, red, you'll be FF and then 40. Color opacity here means 1, that means it's not opaque, and that's why you see the entire black. Also the point size, this one doesn't matter because we are using polygon data, so these two parameters has no effect. The width, this one has effect because this is basically the thickness of the outline. Also the line type, okay, solid, or we can change to other dotted or dash. Fill color opacity, this one here is easier, better than this one because this one here need to figure out like what's the hexadecimal, but in here you can just put a decimal number. Okay, so this is basically 66% opacity. And also you can provide a palette, and then so this is the function we're going to use, map.addStyle vector. And the first one here, we can also press shift tab on your keyboard to bring up the definition. So the first one here will be the Earth Engine feature collection. The second one is the column. So which column do you want to visualize? So it depends on the column you select. And earlier I showed you, if you use the inspector, if you click on the map, right here you can see all the columns. And actually we use this one, use the name. So the name for each state is going to be different, but you can certainly also use the division. You can see, for example, how many divisions in there, and you can sometimes if you want to customize the symbology based on numbers, you can also use the different column. But let's use the name column first, and so it's going to be sorted alphabetically. So A, B, C, D, right? So this is A's. So depends on how many category you want. But for this one here, we provide 5 color, and basically it's going to be separate this into 5 categories, and each category is going to have a different color. So the second one here is the column name, and also provide a palette. Essentially, basically you select that column and then you provide a color to assign a color to each polygon, and all the polygon will be divided into multiple groups. Okay, so in here it's going to be divided into 5 groups evenly. Also you can add the name, and then lastly you can provide the visualization parameters, right? So this is going to be used how to customize, and this is the final output you're going to see. You can also change the color. So the palette, you're welcome to change the color if you want. Also here the opacity, right? So like I said earlier, this one can be, if you change to 1, it's going to be fully opaque, so you don't see, it's not transparent, and that's why you see this color, right? So but you can also change to, if you change to just 0, that means it's going to be totally transparent. Then the color palette here, this one has no effect. Okay, and we can change it, for example, to 0.05. Also you can actually change the division, right? So earlier I showed you the column, maybe division, it has 4 groups. You're going to have different outputs, right? So the division means like in the eastern or west, something like that. Looks like here we only have 4 division. And you can also like customize using, let's say, do we have anything else? For example, region, there might be the other one here, region. Let's try out the other one. Here we have more. Okay, so as you can see here, maybe from the east, south, east, and then midway, something like that. So you have different categories. In here, you can customize the vector. You can play with these parameters. You can vector, for example, this is a polygon, but you can also do similarly for line or points, depending on what data you want to visualize. Besides this one, the X style vector function, you can also, because for the palette, right, sometimes it's difficult to come up with a good palette. In the GMap package, we have a color maps module, so it provides over 200 palettes that you can select, very easy to use. So you can import the color maps as CM, and then everything here is the same as the previous one. This one is different. Okay, so the CM has palettes, and then you can choose from the type of palette you want. You can also select how many classes within that palette, and maybe I can show you this one here to show you what it's being used. CM dot palette. You just hit tab and then enter dot tab again. From here, you can select from all the color palettes. So this is all the from the map prop the color maps. So for example, if I just see this one and then hit Alt Enter, you should be able to see the palette, right? So this is basically, if you don't specify how many classes you want, it's going to have a default. You can also dot again and then hit tab again. It's going to show you another list, and then you just type N, how many you want, right? So most of the color palettes is 3 all the way to 12, right? So I can select, for example, 6, and then Alt Enter. You should be able to see the list of palettes, right? And then you can copy this one, paste in here, so that you can convert. So that basically you can get the palette easily, right? So this is the same idea in here. Like why we use this way. But this one is a tuple, so we also convert the tuple to a list. Once you convert to a list, then you can use this one to style the palette. Similarly, I can just type cm dot palettes dot, okay, gist. Okay, so from here you can see all kind of color. It can be gray, it can be different types, and then just hit Alt Enter. You see like it has a long list of palettes. And if you just want like 12 classes, you just type N 12 and then Alt Enter. Oh, not 102, it's the 12. Alt Enter. Then you see this palette, and then convert this one to a list. Then you can customize the symbology. You see here, very easy to do. So then you can, this one is way more flexible, so you don't have to worry about to come up with a good palette. You can always change this one. I can maybe change it to terrain, right? Alt Enter. It changes to a different color. Similarly, I can change to maybe the other one. Maybe blues, for example. Alt Enter. Change different blue color. So this is how you can change the palette and then change the color easily. Last one here I'm going to show you is actually no coding required. Once you add the data to the map, you can click the toolbar upper right corner, and then from here click the layers, then click the settings of the layer, and you can change the symbology, everything in here directly. So I can maybe change the opacity to lower number, or you can also change this opacity. If you change this one, opacity, the fill color, just like what you are seeing in here, and then you just hit apply, it's going to remove the layer. But you need to make sure that you turn the original layer off, otherwise you won't be able to see the outcome. So whenever you hit apply, it's going to create a new layer. So this is the new layer name showing up here, this one. So this is the new layer. But once you customize, this one becomes an image. You can no longer see the attributes if you use the inspector tool. So you can also change different color, right? So I can change the outline to blue color, and then just hit apply. Oh, I haven't clicked here. Blue, then maybe somewhere there. If you click blue and then come back to here, apply, it should change to blue color. So this is similar to what we did earlier, but this one you don't need to write any line of code. You can just use the interface. You can also change the thickness. For example, I can change to 4. It will be much thicker. You can also change the line. So for example, dotted. Hit apply. It might be too thick, so you cannot really see the difference, right? So apply. You can also change the color. I can move the transparency and then change the color maybe to, let's say, green color somehow. Apply, and you have the green color. You can also change the style. So you can, for example, style by attribute. This is similar to the example I showed you above. You can style by a column. So if I click this one and then I change maybe to change the name to this one and then hit apply, it's going to change based on this symbology here from the left to the right, and that's why you see this color. You can also let me change this one to solid. You can also change here. We have all the color, all the palettes in here. So this one has a long list of palette. If you want, you can clear the palette and then you can start from beginning, and then you can pick your own individual color. For example, the first color is this one, and then just hit add, and then you continue to pick different color. Okay, and then add. And then add. So you can add all kind of color, and then after that you can hit apply. It's going to change the color. If you want to add a legend, for example, you can also add a legend in here. So you can add this one. So this one has 3 class, right? And once you hit apply, you can change it. For example, this one depending on the attribute you're trying to style. For example, can I say high, and then medium. And then the last one may be low. Just hit apply and then close. You will see here it create a legend. So this is pretty nice because you once you style the vector, for example, based on population, and then you divide, group the population depends on to multiple groups, and then you can have, for example, high population states, medium population, and low population density states. This is just an example, so you can feel free to customize based on the data that you have in hand. You can also search for other data set. For example, I can search maybe this. You can change the data type. So this one is polygon. Maybe you can search let's say sensors. I can add another sensors rows. That one will be line data. So if I click this one, import. Okay. Oh, by the way, so earlier when I show you that you customize the parameter, you can also hit this import. So if you click import, it's going to show you here for this one the visualization parameters, and then you can use this one to style a vector. So this is also one way you can do that. For example, if you change the color, once you are satisfied with the color, if you want to use it next time without having to go through the same process, then you can just change this one. Let me show you one more time. Let me in here. Let me close this one. And so this is the original that we're going to customize, right? So let me show you. For example, once we customize, we can change the color maybe to this color, and then the opacity you can change it to maybe blue something, and maybe change this one to red color to be more obvious. Okay, and just hit import. Then you will see this one here. You can also hit apply, right? So once you apply, you're going to see this one. But similarly, once you have this one, you can just follow the same example. The second example here, use the style function that I showed you earlier, right? So all you need to do is just to copy the style to here, and then you should be able to use the same one. So I'm just going to copy this line that we added earlier and come back to here, change this one, just hit paste. You can use the same variable name, right? Just style, and then equal to, then we shift enter, you'll be just able to see exactly the same, right? So this is how you can reuse the parameters that you using is the optimal one that you want to use. You can do it this way. Okay, so let's continue. Next one here, I'm going to show you using line, right? Line data. So you can add the US sensors and then just hit enter. Then we can see if data can show up. Keep in mind, this one is a huge data set, so it might take a while for the data to load up. But once it's loaded up, then you can customize the symbology if you want. So it might take a while. I'm not sure if we're going to see the results or not. So let me come back to here. Oh, it's not being added to. It's probably added to this data layer. Yeah, okay, it's here. Because earlier when we run the map, right now this one becomes the map, the current map, and that's why you're seeing here. And let's maybe zoom in to take a look at the right. Okay, it shows up. So this is how you can see. This is the vector data. So this is the line data, all the roads and streets in the US. So it's a huge database. But if you want to customize, you can. Okay, so you can click here and then click this one. Then you can start changing the color. So if you want to change the color or the thickness, you can go ahead to change this one and then just hit apply. It's going to take a while. Oh, no, not too long. That's good. You can also style by attribute. Okay, so for example, and then you can see, for example, for the field, there might be different types, right? So if you click this one, this one might take a while because it's going to go through all the attribute, and you will see here it's still running, so it might take a long time. But once it's finished computation, you should be able to see different types of rows, and then you can use a different color for each type, so that in that way you can have a different style for each type, and you'll be much better if you start using this way, so they can distinguish the row type. But right now, I think this is one thing that you can try out. You can also add point data if you want. Okay, this one is going to take a while, so I'm just going to stop here, and hopefully you find this one useful. You can, if you want coding, you can do the coding. If you don't want to write the code, you can also use this interface to customize the symbology for polygon data, line data, and also point data. Okay, that's all for this video. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.